I'm here with Kong Pham, the CEO and co-founder of JUMPCUT. Kong, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
JUMPCUT's one of our very exciting portfolio companies. For anyone that's watching right now, I would love to understand what does JUMPCUT do, what problems are you trying to solve, and who are your target?
Yeah, so right now we're essentially trying to solve the higher education and continuing education system, right? You go to a college, you get a degree, but you don't really leave learning any usable skills, or not many usable skills. And so we want to change that, and we actually want to teach things that are usable in the real world. So that's a very, very big problem, and that's kind of what we want to tackle for the next 20 years. In terms of what we're tackling right now in the next 3 to 5 years, we're just tackling the kind of like knowledge transfer part of it. So if you think about a college right now, the way that you get knowledge is you either read a book or you go to a lecture, or both, right? And so that's really incredibly boring unless you have a really great teacher. So what's happened is, now that everything has moved online, what they did was they recorded these lectures and they're putting it online, which makes it even more boring. And so the problem we're trying to solve right now is that course completion rates on average are about 10%, right? Anywhere from 5 to 15%.
Got it.
And so we want to create entertaining content that teaches people usable skills, and the course is made like a movie. And so the way I always explain it to people is like, think about the movies you watch. The Dark Knight, Game of Thrones, or TV shows, right? Avengers. That's the power you have in terms of video, in terms of special effects, in terms of like visuals, and getting people to buy into like another reality, another world. Imagine now if I just recorded a play, right? Like I literally just recorded a play that was on stage. That's what's going on with education right now. We're recording plays when we have the ability to make Avengers.
Got it. So you're basically trying to bring the movies that Hollywood feel, that sort of binge watching mentality, to education and educational technology.
Yep, exactly.
Got it. So how are you guys accomplishing that? Obviously, we see your beautiful offices here in Hollywood, but what specifically do you do to sort of solve that completion rate issue?
I think at the beginning, it's just it starts with the writing and the concept. So on top of the writing, it's also like motion graphics, using text on the screen, using B-roll, filming, following people around. Like we follow Justin around his daily life. So all of those things make for more captivating content. Got it.
Great. And who's your target customer, and how do you generate revenue? What's the revenue model?
So we have people from ages like 8 all the way to 80. But I would say our core demographic is 18 to 34. And the unifying thread between them is they either hate what they're studying in school, or they hate their job. They're in a dead-end job and they don't know how to get out of it, right? Because school didn't really prepare them. And so that's the unifying thread between our customers. In terms of the business model, each course is $1,000. If you go, so basically the way it works is we give away like an hour free of the course, and then after that, if you want the full course, it's $1,000.
Got it. So just to give them a better sense, like your first course that you did, how to growth hack social media. So what kind of numbers are you doing on a course like that?
So that course was basically our MVP. We did like a second iteration of it. It costs us about, I want to say, total cost maybe $200K. And so far we've made about close to 10 million.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a pretty incredible return profile. You're putting in $200K, and then you can continuously generate profit from selling the courses.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say about 30% of that goes into like paying for ads. And so we're getting a 3-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio.
Got it. Great. Yeah, that's lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. So, how do you guys sort of think of the future, think of the competition? Where do you want to grow as a company? How do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I think this is just like step one of trying to reinvent a new college. Like at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, right? We want to invent a new college that's not just 4 years, but a college that people continuously take throughout their whole life.
Got it. Yep.
And so when we think of the competition, I think there's two kind of worlds that we're competing with. One is the traditional colleges, which the way I think about that is in probably, you know, in the near, I'd say 5 to 10 years, what you're going to see is like a bifurcation of colleges.
Yep.
All your Ivy Leagues are going to stay exactly the same, your Harvards, your Stanfords, your Yales, because they have a reputation. Everybody else, you know, like your Cal States, your community colleges, pretty much 90% of colleges are just going to be replaced by something online that's cheaper and that's actually better and teaches you things that you use in the real world.
Yep.
And so those are like, when it comes to competition, we don't really look at the Ivy Leagues as competition. We look at like the tier 3 and below, tier 2 and below as competition.
Yep. Got it.
So the other side of things is people who are already doing it online, who are already doing a cheaper and more efficient version of this. So Udacity, your Masterclass, your Udemy, and the way that we differentiate with them is that, well, each one is a little bit different, but the way that we differentiate is we focus more on the content side of things.
Got it.
And so let's just take Udemy for example, right? I see them kind of like as a YouTube where it's user-generated content. We want to be more of a Netflix, where it's original content, really high quality, really expensive to produce, but it yields returns.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think for us, you know, the concept of sort of disrupting, you know, sort of tier 3 universities and finding a new way to bring education to the masses, you know, is a really interesting goal to try and achieve for a venture-backed company. And yeah, you know, for us, we definitely thought that the way that your videos are created is a true differentiator. I think some of the viewers would like to understand sort of how we connected. I remember telling the story of seeing you speak at Y Combinator, and I just thought you really stood out. Would love to hear a little bit more about your background, your co-founder's background, and how you sort of got into this, and then would love to hear about how it's been working with your world-class investors.
Yeah. So my background is I went to college at Cal State Fullerton. It was really, really bad college. And I studied entrepreneurship there. I studied a business administration degree with a concentration in entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Didn't learn anything about entrepreneurship.
Right.
Maybe one class was useful, which was statistics.
Okay.
But everything else was just useless. And so I tried to drop out a couple of times to start my own business, failed. And then at one point, my co-founder at that time, and I started a YouTube channel.
Okay.
It just blew up, and that's when we just both dropped out in our last semester of college.
Yeah, so tell us how large it got.
So the first channel we created is now at, I think, 2.8 million subscribers with over 300 million views, and all organic. We didn't pay for it. And then since then, we've created multiple different channels, and it's accumulated now over 4 million subscribers.
Wow.
And close to 1 billion organic views.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah. And so we have like so we created a really nice business out of that, right? Just really nice cash flow business. But I think the real kind of the big win here is that we were able to understand what makes content viral, what makes content stick. And so we're able to use that and put it into the education space.
Got it. Yeah, we always say we want to back world-class founders with true information asymmetry, as it seems like a lot of things that you did in the YouTube space has really helped you sort of excel here. Yeah, so tell us, you know, obviously being at Y Combinator, one of the best accelerators in the country, how has it been, you know, going through that program, and then, you know, who else are your investors?
Y Combinator was a fantastic program because not only did it allow us to get mentorship from previous founders who have exited for anywhere from like hundreds of millions to even billions. And then it also allows you to have a network of really, really smart individuals, right? So you know, they have this internal forum where you can just post something. Like one time our Google Ads account got banned for whatever reason. We called them every single day, called them. They said, yeah, we'll get back to you, 5 days in a row. I posted on the YC forum. 5 people responded. They're like, yeah, I know someone. I work at Google, whatever.
Amazing.
Literally, I reach out to them literally the next day within 24 hours. we have some director calling us, profusely apologizing, saying, I don't know how this happened. I'm so sorry. We're going to give you credit, and we're going to send you a ton of merch.
Got it.
So they sent us like water bottles, like T-shirts, and all this stuff. And that's the power of that network.
Got it.
And then so the third thing is the investors, right? At the end, you get to present to hundreds of investors at this thing called Demo Day. That's where you first saw me, and that's how we met. And that's how we met our other investors as well. Zen Fund, Maveron from Seattle, and then Liquid 2, and then a couple of others too. Got it.
Yeah, and we were saying that Maveron is the venture fund that Howard Schultz, founder of Starbucks, started. How's it been working with Struck Capital?
It's been great. I always tell I always tell people, like, you've just been one of the most active investors in terms of like reaching out, making sure that we're doing okay, and then when you have a friend who has some type of news about the industry, you're always the first to email us. So I would say Struck Capital and you specifically have been like the most active investors in terms of just reaching out, keeping in touch, and touching base.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We always try and add value, but it makes it much easier when we can work with world-class founders like yourself.
Thank you.
And super excited to see what you accomplish in 2019.
Thanks
Thanks so much, Kong. Appreciate it.